Everybody, McGraw 31 back here for FSi DFS. I am on the road this week at a conference, so I don't know how many videos will get out to you, but it is Wednesday. There's an early slate and a late slate, so don't have a normal setup. So in the interest of time, I'm going to get as much information as I can out to you. If I don't get to a main video, I will flash the page for main at the end. So sorry about all this, but my commitment to try to help you guys with DFS baseball was ongoing. So in the interest of time, let's just jump right into it. So the early slate, again, is kind of weird. DK is fine, 6 games, starting at like 110. Couple weather issues. FanDuel splits at 3-3. And 2 of the early games might have weather issues. So FanDuel the early slate might get canceled. So first up, we have Kansas City Royals and the Cleveland Guardians. Looks like about a 40 to 50% chance of rain here. Brad Keller, Connor Pinkerton. Not super interested in anything really in this game, these pitchers. If the game does play, at least Kansas City has some cheap pieces. You might especially need them on FanDuel because there really isn't many cheap bats, and you're going to want to try to get a Mets stack in here. So speaking of that game, Mets and Washington, you have Evan Lee starting for Washington, and I believe he's only a double-A pitcher jumping right to the major leagues. And the Mets put up a bunch of runs yesterday against Corbin. They're back. Well, don't know if Nemo will be back in the lineup or not yet with his wrist, but just love the Mets righties here. Even probably Nemo, because you're going to get into that Washington bullpen, which was pretty taxed last night, also giving up so many runs. So Kyle Carrasco on the other side, huge favorite. I think on FanDuel, he's going to be probably your SP1 that you're going to look at there. You want to take a Met stack. And Washington, I don't think really I'm interested in many of the bats there or anything. But again, it's such a small slate. I think everything is going to be in play. Next game, you have St. Louis and San Diego. Again, there's weather here, but it doesn't look like till the end of the game. It looks like a lot better than it did last night when I first looked at it. Yu Darvish and Dakota Hudson. Darvish isn't the same pitcher, but he is good against righties, and most of the St. Louis lineup is righties. Dakota Hudson's, I think it might be your default SP2 against the San Diego team. They've actually been in the lower half of the league in the last 14 days in WRC plus. Not a huge strikeout. They're middle of the road there. But I think you really don't have many options on the slate. So I think bats from either team, you can always stack them here, but not anybody of interest. I think on FanDuel, what you're going to do is you're going to take Carrasco, you're going to take 4 Mets, and then you're going to probably mix and match in bats from this game that you can to fill out your lineup. You might have to take some Kansas City ones to make it work. We have Coors Field going on. This will be the first game of the afternoon FanDuel slate. I think it's like very early, and then this is like the early slate for them. Hopefully this game plays. Looks like the weather's better. Should be rainy up until it might be a little bit delayed, but it looks like there's a window where things are going to clear up today. They're 51 degrees, so it's kind of cool. They're not great hitting weather. You have Sensatella coming off the IL. Really not interested in him for Colorado, even at 4-5. And Rogers, I think, is maybe playable potentially for Miami. Colorado is usually good against left-handed pitching, but just with the cold conditions and this they're playing doubleheader today, so got to see which lineups come out for both teams too, because they're definitely still not playing Sensatella coming back from the injured list, but Rogers might be interesting GBP pivot here with if either team or if Colorado has a watered down lineup there. Might be some nice value bats too in either lineup. Also, like I said, having a doubleheader and playing 2 games, you might not get your complete A games out there. So next game is Houston and the Athletics. Justin Verlander is probably going to be a default SP1 on DK. Going to be a default SP1 on FanDuel on the late slate. Oakland's just terrible. I see no reason to play Oakland at all today. Again, yes, they're very cheap, but against Verlander and a really good bullpen, they're probably going to get shut down. Cole Irvin on the other side, a little bit expensive. Not many options here in the mid range to pair as an SP2. That's why I think Hudson's going to be popular. But he, if you look at him, like Houston doesn't strike out. It's a decent lineup. It's a lefty against some decent righties like Altuve, Alvarez, even lefty on lefty is really good. Bregman. So, and the wind's blowing out like 9 miles per hour. But again, in Oakland, it's really not a huge factor. 74 degrees, so it's not like super hot there. But I think I'll have some Houston bats, maybe, and definitely like Verlander. But I think I'm for the most part going to be stacking the Mets here. And then finally, the final game is going to be the Atlanta Braves and Madison Bumgarner Kyle against Arizona Diamondbacks. Kyle Wright pitching for the Braves. I think he makes a decent candidate if you want to pivot off Verlander for some reason. You're only saving like $100 here, so why would you not play Verlander? You're probably going to get maybe 10 more points out of him for $100 more bucks. So doesn't really make sense. And Diamondbacks on the other side against Wright. I really like the Braves as a stack here also. So let me bring up screen share so you can see the lineup breakdowns for this. Okay, so in cash, I'm definitely going Verlander. I want a Met stack. Alonso, McNeil, Gilmore should still be in there cheap. Lindor and Nemo. And then might try to fill in with Arizona bats or Kansas City bats just to try to make it work. SP2, like I said, I think Hudson is the one that I'm going to look at there. I don't want Lee. I don't want Sensatella. I don't want Pinkerton. The mid-range guys, Irvin, like I said, Rogers maybe would be the second choice there. Not super interested in Keller, but maybe against Cleveland possible. So it's just really tough here. For GPP, I think I'm going to go Carrasco as my starting pitcher here. On FanDuel, like I said, your SP1 here is going to be Carrasco and Mets. Here, it's going to be Verlander, and you probably want to stack the Braves. And that's what I'm doing here. It's going to take D'Arnaud, Riley, Swanson, Acuna, Ozuna. If you need to go down on one of these guys to get your secondary stack in there, again, I'd try to put in maybe some Miami bats, some Colorado bats, if there's some cheap guys in there for the doubleheader, just to try to fill things out. So moving on to the main slate, like I said, I'm not going to have time probably to do a full video on this, but just some thoughts. You have a couple rain games, Cincinnati and Boston, and LA and New York. Ray's going to be the top pitcher on the slate. Cortez is okay, but potential weather. Skubal gets Minnesota. He's pretty expensive. I think he makes a great GPP one. Kopech gets the Blue Jays. Again, a tough matchup there. So I think Whitlock, if he's fine, is going to be SP2. Uber's decent against Detroit, but it only goes like 5 or 6 innings, about 80 pitches. Ryu and Hendricks are kind of washed up, not interested. Springs, I think if Whitlock is not in, makes a great play against Texas. Gray also same game with potential. And then White for the Dodgers doesn't really go super deep. But he's somebody to consider there. I think the White Sox are going to be a top stack on the slate. They're really cheap here, and you can get a nice Milwaukee stack in with them and even get a decent SP2. And maybe even pay up for one of these other guys. So that works out because the White Sox and Milwaukee, if you pair them together, make a really decent price stack. Over here on GPP, I think I'm going to Skubal, Whitlock, or Springs, whichever works. And then I'm going to stack Seattle, the righties, because Bradish is a reverse splits pitcher. If you want to take Winker or some of the lefties in your stack too, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then Chicago Cubs up against a rookie in Alexander. The wind's not a factor here, but I think he's just going to be able to give up some runs to this Cubs team. He really has a really low strikeout team. Rate in the minors, really wasn't a great guy. pitcher there. So he's probably a good guy. He's just not a good major league pitcher at this point. So that's what I have for you today. Sorry it's so fast, but here's the beauty of this. As you always know, if you have any questions, comments, or anything, put them in the chat below, and we'll get back to you, or hit me up on Twitter at McGruler31. I'll try to answer any questions about the slate. Check back to the video if things pop up or I change my opinion on certain things before like the slate's locked. Then I can definitely should be able to throw some thoughts at you there. So appreciate you watching. I'm McGruler31. Please like this video, share with your friends, subscribe to our channel so you know our videos are coming out. And if you want more information on FSi DFS, then please just go to the description of the video and all our information is there. So McGruler31, hopefully I'll be able to get videos out for the rest of the week before I return home. But if not, then always check on my Twitter page. Leave some comments in this video if there's no video on Thursday or Friday, and say, hey, what do you think about today's slate? I can throw some thoughts out there too. So, I will be able to try to get my thoughts to someplace if I can't just find the time to record and upload and produce a whole video. We'll definitely get something out to you. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.